Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be interviewing Otim. How you doing, Otim? What's new?
Yeah, nothing much. What's new? Don't know. Every day's a new day. Just see
Yeah.
what you pick up and learn and stuff. And I'm not really doing much at home. Unemployed at the moment. I graduated December. Actually planning on going back to university, but yeah, ever since Corona, it's just been pretty chill. So nothing
Yeah.
really new. What about you?
Yeah. I've just been working from home as I'm a psychologist. It's most of the time not much of a difference really for me. Always
Yeah,
working
yeah.
from home before. But yeah, Kyle, so you're going back to university. So what did you just graduate from? What degree did you just do?
So I did psychology. So
Oh,
I did an
fantastic.
undergrad in neuroscience, and then I did a psychology conversion master's. So it kind of puts me at the
Yeah.
same level as a bachelor's. And I'm going to do a master's to do occupational psychology, which is that what you did? You did
Ah,
occupational.
that is exactly. Where are you doing that?
Nottingham. You did it
Okay.
at Bex. We spoke.
Yeah, I did.
This was our first
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah, definitely rings a bell. Okay. So, what made you want to go first through neuroscience and then going into psychology? What was the motivation there?
Oh, I learned about like ever since I was young. I was really obsessed about this idea of just like you can mold yourself into whatever you want. Been interested in like that kind of developmental process, and I came across this idea of I've always been fascinated with psychology in particular, and I came across this idea of neuroplasticity that your brain is very moldable, and then just from there, I was like, shit, I want to do neuroscience. And when I was applying for universities, I was interested in psychology, but I didn't do it. In UK, I don't know about the American people. I don't know how this system is in America, but you get to pick a few subjects for your A levels, and I didn't do psychology. I did maths, biology, and chemistry, and then I did PE like in AS. But yeah, so
Hmm.
I hadn't done any psychology, so I was like, oh, that would be quite a jump to pick that for uni. But I did do really well in biology, and neuroscience is a mix between biology and psychology. So I was like, perfect, I'll do neuroscience. I'm very very interested in it, and yeah. But then when I did it throughout university, it kind of I liked learning. I liked the theory and everything about it, the information. But in terms of career and what I was going to do with it, I didn't. Neuroscience and sciences are very specific. You don't just work with big chunks of information. You're trying to find out something very specific. Does this cell or does this very specific small thing work in a certain way? So you're trying to build blocks collectively in the scientific community. And in general, it almost seems a bit too slow for me. I wanted something where I could just kind of dive in with all the different flavors and things involved. So psychology seemed like a good way to go. So I just did that. And then this year what I thought the best thing for me to do is occupational, kind of.
And why occupational? Why not say educational or clinical sports?
Yeah.
Why occupational?
Yeah. So at the start, like, I mean, everyone else was on the same page. Everyone was like, we're doing psychology because we want to be clinical psychologists. That's got like the
Mhm.
best money. It's like, it seems to be like the most almost valued. It's the most valued job within that kind of situation. And I was like, yeah, I want to do clinical. But then I realized like I can't do that. Like it's not for me. And I kind of knew that at the start, but I just thought, hey, like I keep pushing through, like I'll get used to the idea of doing it and I'll get more motivation to do it. But that never happened. The motivation just went lower and lower. And by the end of the year, I knew like I definitely don't want to do this. So what do I want to do? And I had a look, came across occupational, and I was like, this seems like the perfect fit for me. Like I'm basically doing this, like just the way it was described. I was like, most of my days I'm spent just hyper focused on being productive. How do I configure things as best as I can so that I'm getting the most out of myself? I'm using all sorts of information to do that. and I'm doing that for myself. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a job where you're doing that for other people, just trying to get the best out of them in like a productive sense, like they're kind of like a system you're trying to optimize. So I just thought, yeah, it seems like the path that will yield the most out of me in terms of like my interests and things like that. So
I
yeah.
see. Makes sense. So you graduated from regular psychology, and now you're going to go in to do your master's in
Occupation, masters, yeah, exactly.
structure. Right,
Yeah.
makes sense. And so, what have you done to use psychology to help yourself and be at the top of your own game?
I guess things like just understanding how people work, understanding how motivation works. Things like actually, I've rubbed it off my board. Like just the other day, I was learning about this kind of idea that the fantasies that you construct aren't factored into your brain's equation for what motivates you. So like just because you say you want to be a star basketball player, like that's the fantasy you have. You're like, I'm gonna do this. That doesn't, your brain is way smarter than that. Like it tries to base things based on certainty. So if you conjure up this vague fantasy, it doesn't equate to you working out every day because it doesn't know the clear path to that goal. So instead, what your brain is going to do, you're going to wake up and go to the more clear path to what feels good, which might be like procrastinating or something like that. So it's those kind of principles and concepts about how do you actually work, and not getting sucked into things that don't yield things out of you. Yeah, that's just an example, a recent example, I guess.
So interesting. So, what sorts of things have you done using that concept? So that's a very interesting concept. But what have you then done using that to then make a difference to yourself?
Yeah, right. I have to think about that one. Hasn't been very practical. That's more like something to have in mind. But something more practical, I was learning about how, so whenever you're starting a task or trying to engage with stuff, you don't want to start from a state of being overwhelmed cognitively. And we tend to do that. We tend to disrespect the state of our brain when we're starting a task. And if you are already overwhelmed and you're not aware, it's very unconscious, you'll procrastinate. You'll be like, oh, there's too much to do or whatever. So there's this, I can't remember the term, but it's this idea, it's like resetting your environment. So like having your environment clear before you start working. So at the end of the day, I'll always tidy my room to like a base, to its neutral state. So when I wake up, I'm not overwhelmed with stuff around. I'm not like, there's a very clear, efficient way I can function. My desk might be clear. I'll close down my browsers so I don't have 1,000 browsers. Do you get what I mean? So that I actually do. Like that's like a day-to-day thing. I'll reset from baseline kind of thing. Yeah. It's kind of a mix.
Okay.
Sometimes they're very practical, and sometimes they're very more. It's just something to have in mind as well. So yeah.
So, other than around psychology, what other interests are there?
Oh God, it gets kind of. I get interested in things and I stop getting interested in them. So there's like passing phases. I do like football. I'm not as involved with football as much. For anyone in America, I mean soccer. But this is a sports jersey from my uni. I did futsal, which is like indoor football. So I do, but I just haven't been as interested lately. But when I was younger, I was really, really into it. And then I don't know, something will catch interest and I'll get really sucked into it. I haven't been watching much anime at the moment, but like a few years ago, I watched like a lot. I really got into anime. What else? Lately I've been getting really, this kind of falls into like my current interests, but I've been really getting into like productivity systems. So like just learning about different applications and apps for like helping yourself. Like there's a kind of a niche on YouTube with that, and I just kind of got interested in that. I don't know. The interests are always tied together. They're always related to kind of performance in some kind of way. So it could be sports, like I watch anime, and like you get enthralled in these stories, and it kind of lights that, like, oh, this character's really cool. I like their kind of their energy, and it gives me energy. I don't know, it's a weird, I find it hard to separate them because it feels like it's all connected to the same interest.
And what is that same single interest where it's all connected?
Yeah, to kind of like to just to maximize potential, just to maximize potential. So yeah, pretty much.
How does it show up in, say, football? How does it show up in anime?
In football, it's more self-evident. Like in football, you're like winning. You're bettering yourself to do better in the game. So that one's very clear. Like you just want to be a better player. You learn the skills. You take interest in like watching different players, in like professional players, and you're like, how can I be better, and blah blah blah. That one's more clear. In anime, it's like you're seeing the story of these characters, these internal conflicts they go through where they grow, and in anime everything's dramatic as well. So you can get the same from watching actual shows, but anime, because it's so much more dramatic, I find that feeling more intense. I guess it's like the hero's journey or whatever. I don't know, you see these kind of these patterns of like the story playing out, and you're like, this is what it is like to like grow and develop yourself. So yeah, it's more inspiration for that. Yeah, it's more of an inspiration thing. What else? And yeah, just whatever catches interest. I just think, oh, I'll use this opportunity to like get good at something.
Okay.
Yeah.
What things have you recently gotten good at?
I don't think I am like particularly. This is a thing. I'll like pick up something. I'll be super determined to like get good at it, and then something else will just catch my interest, and I'll forget about that. And usually, when you're trying to learn or get good at something, it's like you need to hit a threshold where you're comfortable at that level. If you don't hit that threshold, if you stop, you'll just go back down to zero. So you need to get to a certain level of expertise, and I never stick with it long enough to do that. So like I'll just kind of like yo-yo around things, like unless it just stays in my life. Like football stayed in my life. I tried picking up volleyball, and I really messed up my ankle. I couldn't do sports for like a year. Then I just never did volleyball again, and I could have gone back to do it. I just never did it. So I don't know. I tend to channel switch with my interests, so I never really get good.
No worries. And what sorts of things have you always been good at?
What sorts of things? It's hard to know if I'm good at it. I know what I like doing, or where I feel confident. Where I feel confident is different from where I'm good at.
I tried to ask that question differently, but I got dragged back into asking that question.
It's fine. It's the reason why I redirected it is because I know that sometimes I'm confident, but like I'm not really that good at it. It's just something I like doing. So I just really like thinking and philosophy, and like just thinking about things that just people that don't seem that important, but like it seems really real to me. Just for basically philosophy and trying to I don't know. Really weirdly enough, yeah, it's literally just thinking about things in a very philosophical way, I think.
Okay.
I can't really think of anything else that.
Could you give me an example of how you think of things in a philosophical way?
Yeah, example. So I'm starting a blog. Well, I'm trying to start a blog. I'm preparing the first blog post, and it's a blog based on personal development. And my blog post is about this this term called the minimum effective dose, and it's something in pharmacology where it's kind of the minimal amount of drug or psychoactive component, whatever it is, that can influence the body or the biological system. And that like general idea, and obviously you want to use the smallest you need, because if you give too much, you're easing into the side effects too much, right? So you want the minimum you need to get the body into the right state, right? And that concept is in everywhere. Like there was a guy called Arthur Jones who took that. His family was like a family of doctors, and he applied that into the field of fitness and exercise. And the general idea is to do what is the minimum you need to get the outcome. And a simple example is kind of like with water. You're trying to boil it, and to boil water, you just need to get it to 100 degrees Celsius. Any more, and it's not more boiled. You're just wasting energy. So you in that way, you just want to get just enough to get it boiled. So with Arthur Jones, he did that with fitness. I still need to dig into like what specifically he did in fitness, but it's also in like business, the minimal viable product. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's where the business is trying to give out a product that is in between the prototype and the final version. So this amalgamation is supposed to have enough core features for the product that this user, or like this early access user, can use it and then give feedback. And then that feedback will then go into what becomes the final version. So it's almost like saying we don't want to go off our idea of what this product should be and go through this entire process, create the product, and then our customers don't even like it. No. We should have some kind of way of a happy medium where we make it good enough that people can get a general idea and give us feedback so that we efficiently come up with the best product. So it's leveraging what is the minimal you need. And it's also like in culture, there's this idea of no pain, no gain. And this is like an argument against that. I think you can work smarter rather than harder. So that's something. That's an example, I guess, a recent example.
Okay, thank you very much. So what sorts of things have you always had difficulty with?
What sorts of things? Performance anxiety. I've always had performance anxiety, and it's like I know how to do this thing. In the moment someone's watching me, I'm like, so annoying. Performance anxiety, and this one's more related to objective personality, I guess, but definitely talking. Because I bring that up because in objective personality, there's a specific thing. Well, it's called blast. It's kind of the communicating aspect that if you're missing that, you'll have trouble. But I do generally, I guess now I don't, because I'm talking fluidly, I guess, because you're asking me about things I'm interested in. But I guess the struggle with talking is I feel like I'm not conveying things very clearly. Even though now I am, but like day to day, it's I feel like there's more in my head than that I'm communicating in an organized way. So it's very frustrating.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
fair enough. I mean, I can see you are giving me a lot of information, and it is articulate. But there's also so far. Well, no, actually, no. I won't say it just yet. We'll keep the interview going, I think, before I start blasting myself. Right. Okay, that makes sense. And are there any other areas where you feel sort of you still lack confidence in?
Is there anywhere I've lacked confidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I guess if some I always feel kind of it's like a weird fear of incompetence. Like I feel like if someone wants me to do something, I'm like, oh, don't fuck this up. Like there's some weird pressure of like I have to make sure I'm like competent. And then when I fuck it up, I do get a bit like frustrated with myself. But the thing is, you're supposed to, like, that's a learning experience. But there's something intolerable about that. Like I'm cooking with my girlfriend, and like I mess things up. I'll just be kind of frustrated, like really just like, oh, I don't want to mess it up. But that's how you learn. So yeah, I know there's a part of me that doesn't. There's something intolerable about that. So it's very general. It's just generally doing stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have many friends?
Do I have many friends? Yeah, like right now, less so. But there was, yeah, it's weird. It's hard to describe, but I guess from the earliest part of my university, first year of university, I had like a lot of friends. But it was kind of, how do I say it? I didn't feel anything. I didn't get anything out of it. So it also felt like, why expend energy to maintain all these hundreds of relationships when I'm not actually getting anything out of it? So like, I guess over the years, because I just graduated in December, so it's fourth year. So like the circle kind of got smaller, and then it was more like friends that are actually my friends kind of thing. So I did have a lot of friends, but I guess by me sharing, not, it was my first year of university was me, because throughout secondary school I was super quiet, super shy. I was friends with everyone, but like I never felt like I had any presence. I was just in the group. But in my first university, I was like, all right, I don't know anyone here. I have to be that person that they're friends with. And then I became that, and I was like, all right, this is a skill. I know I've got this skill down. But in terms of the actual relationships I've made, they don't really mean that much. And then so over the years, then it just became like, these are my actual friends. And now I've built the social skills needed. If I need to make more friends, I can do it. But yeah.
So actually, just to look more closely into that. So you had lots of friends. You had the social skills to make those friends.
Yeah.
So what exactly, you said it's something to do with presence. What exactly was the extra social skill you needed to gain that area of satisfaction in the number of friends you had, the right quality of friends you had? What was that? What were the skills?
It was like it almost, like, it's really weird to say. It's very zen, what I'm about to say. It's almost getting out of your own way. It's like when I am shy or whatever, and like in secondary school, I'm overthinking how I'm fitting in the situation with people, like how I'm relating to them. Or like, then I'll be like, just maybe not talking that much or whatever. But when I was in secondary school, through my determination, like, I want to do this, when I forced myself into social situations, it was almost like I had to let the natural social things that happen. Like, I was responding in certain ways to the person. I don't know. It felt like I wasn't doing it. It was just happening through just getting out of my own way, just like putting myself there, and like you relate to them, you pick things up about how to. There's something about like first impressions. It's like making them have like a good time with you when you first speak to them, so that you're kind of like relevant in some kind of way. And then it's weird. It's like you kind of leverage these little things, and then you have some kind of relationship. And I don't know. Yeah, I just felt like getting out of my own way. Just, yeah.
So is it right for me to say that it's something about you overthinking whether people were liking you enough, and getting out of your own way and doing it, just letting yourself do it, and it was easier?
It's just, yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah. Exactly.
Right,
And
okay.
like, to the point that I was actually very surprised. Like, I was like, huh, this is weird. Like, and people can say nice things about like me or whatever, and I'll just be like, I don't, yeah, that's cool. Like, it's almost like this is just happening. I don't know what's happening. I'm glad you like it. I'm having a good time. I'm glad you're having a good time. Just yeah.
Yeah. And was this getting out of your way journey for you, this arc for you? When in your life did this occur?
When do you mean in terms of like when was it like a struggle and then
Yeah, how old were you?
oh, ever since my earliest memory is like I used to just play with imaginary people all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like I was always introverted. My mom even said as a baby, like I was super chill as a baby. She described me as because we had like I was at home with my parents and there was like a family friend and her kid was there and she was asking me to like entertain the child. The child was like a few years old.
Yeah.
And then she was just telling me about when I was a child. She was like, you know, like when you were a child, you were completely different. Like you were so kind of independent. You were happy with or without people. You like if people were there, it was fine. If people weren't there, like you were just as happy. So generally through that, like just being an introvert, then when you're thrusted in school and then you're like, oh fuck, like this is weird. So yeah, just ever since I've always felt it feels like you're kind of trapped kind of thing. So yeah, I've always felt that way.
Okay, thank you. It's interesting. So let me think. So now you have your closer friends. You also have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And what makes those of your closest friends your closest friends? What is that thing that makes them who they
are? Dude, I don't know. I guess just it's a mix of like there's some natural alignment in like there's something that's keeping us in touch and then also the convenience of it. Like it's like a mix of factors, but none of which that like I'm super aware of. I know there's like yeah, it's weird. Like it's just kind of like life, you know how people kind of drift apart even though they were good friends, or like I don't know. I think there's some environmental factors and then personality we match really well. And just I don't know, maybe there's like mutual experiences that tie us together. Maybe we had like a lot of like different good experiences along the way, but I couldn't tell you specifically what. I just know it's some things have kept us close, I guess.
are. So there's some alignment. Okay. And for your girlfriend, what makes your girlfriend your girlfriend?
Yeah, I think the first I still don't know what it was, but like when because we were like in first year we were living in the same halls and like I liked her at that point, but then she had a boyfriend and so we were just friends, but I remember just feeling so open with her and I don't know why. I was just super open with her and I'd never been like open with anyone like that. So there was already like a different connection. So I was like, oh, like I know this is different. I don't know why, but there's something that's just different. And we related a lot. And then just being friends. And then obviously she was single eventually. And then we became a couple. Yeah. So I can't really specifically tell you what it was, but I can only tell you how it like what was different. So yeah, just feeling very open in a way that I'm not normally open with people. I feel like normally people it's more of a social thing. I'm trying to make this a good social interaction. With her, I just felt like I'm just being me, which is yeah, very unusual for me anyways.
Interesting. Thank you. And how do you know when you meet someone,
Yeah,
if you like or if you don't like them? How do you know if they could be a friend or not?
How do I say it? It's kind of like I don't have a good distinction. It's almost like I generally put everyone at arm's reach. So it's hard to be an actual friend, but then it's easy for them to be. Do you get what I'm saying? It's almost like everyone's on the same page. I kind of give everyone the benefit of the doubt in general, but then they end up not being close because I don't have like a radar. I'm not like being like, oh, how much do I like this person? Like, I'll generally disrespect that until they're in my life long enough for me to actually. Even then, like, even there's been times when someone is like, we're really close, they'll tell me that, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. So I guess I'm generally unaware of that, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So they're giving you benefit of the doubt, but then it's other people who can often say how close you are. You yourself don't actually read that for yourself.
Yeah. It's almost like everyone's on the same level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you then work out when it's coming to actually forming those or deciding and narrowing down the range of friends? How do you make those decisions then?
It just happens organic. I don't decide that. It depends on how much energy I'm expending in the relationship and whether it's worth expending that much relationship. Like that's when I'll be aware of it. But like if everything's smooth, then it continues. But I'm not gonna, unless if I'm not gonna change anything. I might do something, but I'm not consciously doing that. It just happens organically, basically.
Right.
Yeah. If I'm hanging out with someone a lot and they live near me and we're we could be good friends, and let's say they move away, like they move to a different city, I may not, who knows, like, I mean, it won't be the same, it'll be different. Maybe it's like, okay, now I have to factor in like doing all this extra stuff, then the relationship might die. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it is very much like the environment is playing a part. I'm not actively like thinking or aware of my relationships in that way. I'm just trying to make the best of like what's here, and if it organically becomes good, then keep it. But let the relationship become what it is.
Right. Okay. I see. So you're not gaming it, you're not forcing it, you're letting it be what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, okay. So one thing I'd like to ask you is, have you ever gone through periods where you haven't been liked by people?
It sounds very arrogant to say, but no. But it's more so like either when I was saying, oh, like I'm shy or whatever, I would at the very least I'd be pleasant, or like there's a saying, like, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all, right? So it's kind of like I won't give anyone a reason not to like me, but if at my worst I'm just kind of invisible. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not. But I was always friends with everyone as well, even while I was really shy. I think I was in the right social groups. I played for the football team, so I was still kind of like friends with everyone. But yeah, there was never a point where anyone disliked me. Yeah, it's more just me not putting myself out there to be disliked. I know what to do to avoid. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. 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 Let me see what else I can ask you. How do you handle situations of conflict or confrontation?
Yeah, how do I handle that? I like to hash it out with the person as quickly as possible, because like when you wait and you let things build up, and so I'd like to go to the person, like, and I don't really get in conflict situations, but like, let me think of one. Last year I was doing like a house party with my housemates, and I invited some psychology people. I just invited the ones that I really talked to, like I didn't really invite the other ones. And then there was someone who was pretty upset about that. And what happened? I actually can't remember what happened. Oh yeah, she was upset about that. Then I was like, and I think, and this was all happening indirectly because I don't talk to her anyway, so I heard about this. Then I was just like, because I got messaged like, hey, like these people are happy about it. And I was like, then I said, oh, tell them they can come if they want. Like, if they come, don't come. I don't care. Like, they're not. There's no issue. Like, if they're not happy about it, fair enough. But what do you want me to do, kind of thing. Like, it's just, yeah. And if anyone's unhappy about something, I also try to look for like a productive solution. If there's no productive solution, then we can just, it's fine. We can move separate ways, kind of thing.
Thank you. Now, you said that you were cooking a little while back with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
How do that things like, say, cooking, those sorts of day-to-day stuff?
How do I deal with it, kind of thing, or how do I?
Yeah, how do you approach those? Are you good at that sort of stuff? Is that?
Not really. I find it really boring, but it's like you just have to do it, right? I try to make it interesting by being like by attaching some kind of like goal, like, oh, I want to be the best at cooking. I want to be really good. It makes it a bit more motivating because it feels like I'm working towards something. But like actually doing it, it's so mind numbing. It's like I almost just want mental stimulation. So yeah, it gets kind of boring. But when I do all the day-to-day stuff right and holistically I have a good day, I then begin to really appreciate it. I'm like, oh, like making my bed and doing this and that. Like at the end of the day, my day has been a very productive day, even for the things I actually care about. So those things probably play a part. So I begin to appreciate it, like from the bigger picture. But when I'm doing them, it's so mind-numbing. It's just, yeah.
What do you mean by numbing? What do you mean by that?
What do I mean? But it's like, just like it's like I kind of, it's like I'm bored. It's like I'm chopping these onions. I'm bored. I'm thinking about something else I'd rather be doing now, but I can't do it because I have to cook because I'm a human being. It's So that's pretty much just boredom.
Okay. Thank you. Let me see what else I can ask you. Okay. So, if you couldn't be a psychologist, what would you be instead?
Oh, that's so hard. That's the thing. When I did neuroscience, I remember like I even said to people like, if I wasn't doing neuroscience, I wouldn't be at university. There's nothing else. Like, but realistically, what would I be doing? Who was I doing psychology? Maybe something like some kind of mathematics or some kind of like, I'm not even some kind of mathematics or I really like I just like intellectual stuff. Not in just really intrigues me. I have a friend who does maths and I've always just been super fascinated about it. So maybe that would be something I'd do. Don't know. Yeah.
But why maths?
Why maths? It's just, I don't even know. Why maths? It's how it's like applicable to everything. It's like it has its own goodness within it. Like it's within the field of maths, like I like it in terms of what I'm doing. I'm like banging these blocks together, figuring things out and like learning how things work. And then also the fact that maths is like it's very applicable across the board. You can use it everywhere. I like that aspect of it too.
Right.
So it's those two things.
Okay.
The broadness of it.
Okay, makes sense. And interesting. Okay, so
because it's like for more like details. It's like I'll talk to my friend. I'll bring up it could be something I've read, like my own, like I've learned about something philosophical or something I'm interested in. I'll just bring it up to this friend I have, like one of my best friends, and he's the guy that did maths, and he'll be able to like problem solve the situation in such a good way because he has good frameworks of thinking from maths. And like there's this YouTube video of Elon Musk, and he's talking about how he ended up making Tesla, and he talks about the importance of first principles, and he talks about how he got that from physics. And first principles talks about when you're dealing with some kind of problem, you reduce it to its most fundamental assumptions, like the things that are core. And when you get down to it, you then build up from that basic layer, and you notice that the traditional way of doing things, you can mold that very easily if you just keep that core aspect. So for example, so for him, that he got that from physics, and it's those kind of like, so he applied that in building cars, and my friend can apply his framework for dealing with situations from maths to anything I bring to him. It's like this weird like tool that you can reflexively use. That's what I mean by it's very applicable. It's
Right.
it's universal almost. It's basically universal, you know.
Makes sense.
I guess the sensation I get is like, you know, Plato's universal world of forms, whatever. It feels like I'm connected to something in that way when I'm dealing with these like maths and stuff. I don't know. That's the feeling I get, anyways.
Okay, thank you. That makes quite a bit of sense. Thank you. And let me see. Okay. So what would be your framework? What would be the framework which you live by?
That's hard though. There's no clear. It's always changing. That's the thing. So it's hard for me to tell you. I mean, one is, and most of the time I have a framework, is I also have a contradictory framework, and then I need to like, and I'm like trying to fit them together. And there is always usually is a way to fit them together. It's kind of like, for example, the minimum effective dose thing I told you. So that's effectively saying do the minimal you need to get to maximize the output, and that's like an efficiency framework. But then the counter argument is there's a lot of things in life where through the struggle and the pain of it, through the continuing overextension, you're making the system stronger. So there's situations where that's more what works rather than being efficient and minimizing it. So it's like so the only framework I have, I guess, is that I can only think of it in terms of an image. It's the yin yang symbol. It's like, you know, everything is two halves of the same thing. It's like hot and cold are two dimensions of the same thing, which is heat. So everything you break up, everything you see is just a reflection of one half. So that's the only framework I have, really, just having that for everything. I don't know if that made sense.
No, it does.
It's the only way I can fit. It's the only way I can fit everything and every contradiction.
Yeah,
that's the only way.
You basically said everything is composed of contradictions.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And
okay.
together they. Yeah, because it wouldn't exist without that contradiction. It's almost like you can't have up without down. You know, like they kind of need each other. That's the one thing I know that isn't contradictory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. For that, I'm just thinking something else I can ask you. I had something, but I've lost it. Dang.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. So, when 50 years old, where are you?
50 years old, dude. That's so hazy. 50 years old. You mean like how much detail do you want from this? Or is it just as much as
you want to give?
Yeah. Okay, it's super idealistic, but I have a company. My house is pretty good. Two kids. I'm doing some kind of consultation for occupational psychology. I don't. This is the thing. My idea or my fantasy, it includes so many things that I know I'll have to sacrifice some of them. I don't know which one. So, do you get what I mean? So I do have one. It just doesn't feel substantial. So when I was really young, I had this issue of like I couldn't see myself doing just one thing, and even like in careers day, I told the guy like, dude, like there's so much I'm interested in. He was like, all right, give me these things, tell me the different things you want to do. And I was like, well, at the moment I'm doing this like game where you have a market and you trade, so I'd love some kind of business or trading orientated thing. I'm really into, at the time I was super into like, because it's biology, I was really into like physical like sports and stuff. So I was like very interested in PE, very interested in graphics design, because I was doing graphics design at the start, and I was like at the time, and I was like, I can't see myself, it has to involve all those things. And he was like, shit. And he made some kind of weird career that involved that, which wasn't real. But generally it's like I can't see myself, my future version has to have multiple different things I'm doing. I can't.
Right. Otim, I think I've asked as many questions as I need to ask. Now, it seems as though the audience got to a typing quite quickly, but then got sort of confused and disenchanted with the possibility because of other things you said, which seemed to contradict that. And now they're trying to piece it together and suggesting perhaps some alternatives. Now, unlike them, I think they were right at first. And I think what happened was, the problem with many, what the type which I think you are is IEE, they can say contradictory things, they can say things in different ways, and it can be difficult to actually sort of piece together what the underlying structure is. And they themselves are piecing together what are the rules and the consistencies in them. Are changing for them, as you said yourself. The only thing that is true, but there are always contradictions, which is a low introverted logic thing that can be said.
That's so interesting. Is IEE ENFP?
It is not a perfect translation, but it is the closest equivalent of ENFP.
Wow.
Yes, the leading function, extrovert intuition, I think is that the exploration of different possibilities, keeping opportunities open, not wanting to be limited in your possibilities is an ongoing factor, and that continuous exploration is a big thing. Even your choice of roles, I was thinking, okay, why do you not want to go into anything other than psychology? And if you had to go into maths, at each point, it isn't because this is your purpose. You're not talking in terms of purpose or single outcomes. More, you want something which can stretch out in so many different other areas. What are the areas of potential? So you've managed to refine down things to the greatest, broadest interests. So there's a little bit of interest, introverted intuition, the refining of possibilities, supporting the broadening of as many possibilities as you can. And that's why you chose that particular field. And of course, it's got one that involves, exploring different perspectives as well. And I found it very interesting that there's that sort of perspective exploration. There's this clear confidence in people liking you, knowing that people will like you, and being able to read energies of people. At the beginning, you said that you were sort of putting yourself in front of yourself at an earlier stage, but eventually you got that, and now is absolutely fine. It didn't seem to me to be a particular growth. It's more just allowing your natural strengths to take over in this area. And you said you don't sound arrogant, you just know people like you. And that seems to be something which is pure and effortless in terms of that very strong extroverted ethics, but not valued for its own sake. The point is, you had too many friends to deal with, and that's not what you wanted. You wanted quality relationships. So you're now at a point where you've been thinking, right, which ones actually count, which ones actually matter. But you're not doing it in the way which, say, an ESI would be doing it, which is all about harsh judgment, narrowing down possibilities. You've got this fact that you want to sort of still keep it organic, still feel out how you are with different sorts of people, how close you are. You don't want to decide I'm close to these people, not close to that people, because you don't, that'll be limiting your possibilities. So instead, your desire for closer relationships is not going to get in the way of you closing down your possibilities. So instead, you're allowing the possibilities to make sense of themselves in reaching those levels of closeness.
Is it, and just quick question, is it how solid is this judgment? Like, is this like you've set it in stone, or is it changeable at all? Like through our continued dialogue.
I think it is changeable. It depends what other information you can give.
Yeah.
Problems are this. We put down some stronger foundation stones in other areas. So if you were to change elements, you need to change those other elements, which may be harder to change depending on what you've done. For instance, right, let's look at extroverted logic, which seems to me to be an ongoing thing you're pushing for. You haven't quite mastered yet, but you're putting a lot of effort into doing and making sure, in terms of your competence, your capability and ability to do things, to apply knowledge and get better at your skills. And you're really working on acquiring skills and getting better at them. When you're reviewing these different possibilities and frameworks, it's not about paying attention to the internal consistency of the frameworks. It's about how it could be used, how it can be applied. When we talk about maths, you think maths is very theoretical, very structural. When you say about being philosophical, you're talking about taking different things which actually can be applied to make things better, to learn, to grow, develop, to utilize that neuroplasticity to get as good as you can in different fields. And it's an idea of pursuing mastery in these different skills. It's a very consistent theme for you, but something which you're trying to reach at, trying to grab, and you haven't quite got yet. And even after you got the social side down, that's taken for granted now, but it's the practicalities, which is something you really want to get to and work on. So that would be something be a bit harder to move to make sense of everything else.
That's cool.
Now,
Yeah.
And also, I don't see introverted ethics here becoming something like a vulnerable function, say for an ILE. It doesn't seem to me that you're blind to it. You are still trying to figure out how to get to these closer one-to-one relationships. And there's no point where you've said about doing something which has mucked up your extroverted ethics, because you need good introverted ethics to have good extroverted ethics. They go together. You need to be able to respect and pay attention to and maintain your relationships with people for people to continue liking you as they get to know you better. That's the problem with ILE. So I'm still seeing it, but I think that in your desire to keep open possibilities, you don't want to talk about it in terms of I like this person, I don't like this person.
Yeah.
It's a very soft and flexible introverted ethics. And the point is, when it's a creative function in socionics, it is flexible. It's there to support. It's not there to sort of push things in certain ways stubbornly in and of itself. It's serving the leading function. And if it's extroverted intuition, which is about keeping things open, being quite stubborn about keeping things open, then it's not going to be shutting down those possibilities.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I would also say that your weakest valued function makes sense to me as introvert sensation. It seems boring when you're doing the tasks in the day-to-day. You haven't. It's hard to get that appreciation of doing those tasks because your mind's going elsewhere. You want to go to other places and explore. And also, we can see when you were going to neuroscience, just focusing on the specifics was not your natural energy, no natural tempo. You wanted to go to all the big things and have everything going together and understanding it from a big picture perspective. So your thought was limited by just looking at these particular details. But when you start to see it holistically, when you start to see getting all those details or this day-to-day stuff in alignment in your life and supporting this idea that you've achieved something and done something in your day. So it's lined up with extroverted logic in terms of the processes and the convenient flow processes, in terms of you and that mastery, it all seems to click together and make sense to you. You feel that satisfaction. You weren't telling me it was trivial, it was unimportant in the grander scheme of things, which is more of a introvert intuition pushing introvert sensation down. Instead, it's more, you haven't quite connected to this aspect of your life yet. You haven't quite found that satisfaction yet, which makes sense. If you're extrovert intuition leading, introvert sensation is the weakest part. You're still getting through the mastery side, the extroverted logic side. Once you got that done,
it's step by step.
I was talking to another person who I typed IE from OP, and she had extroverted logic in a far better position. But she was older than you. She's in a better stage in her life.
Was it Kimberly?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the introverted sensation was showing there something she was also working and reaching towards. So there is transitions here. There's paths of growth. You're still in the point where you're still jumping so many ideas. Which I can identify. Now, you had to say.
Oh, it lagged.
To ask me something.
It lagged. It just lagged a little bit, but it's fine. We're good now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. So the connection's a bit funny.
I'll wait for it to settle. You tell me when. Put your thumbs up when it's like you're good to go. All right, cool. Yeah, I was just gonna say, because you're talking about friends. The only like I don't feel I do kind of I don't because you said I'm probably prioritizing close relationships. It's not even that like I don't feel like I don't know how to like explain it. I don't I feel like I'm not aware. I feel unaware of when it's like a close relationship. It almost feels like resource based. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
I don't. It's like I almost like I want generally like I want I. It's more important for me to be able to make friends to make friends than have friends. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like when I need to do it is like it's like I happen to have close friends, right? But I'm not like I'd rather have few friends than many friends. I just there's just no point having so many relationships. Maybe let's say for example in the personality community, I have friends there, but then it's like I want to have many friends in the sense that it's like for a purpose. It's not just having friends. Do you know what I mean? So the close friends is less of it's not really a preference. It's just how it will play out. Like when let's say when I like thinking of making friends in terms of resources. So like I like this idea of like being friends and then something productive coming out of it, like businesses or like mutual interests, like even like befriending you. I'm just like excited because I'm like, oh, he does occupational psychology. There's something like productive in this. I like that. I like more of the resource aspects of making friends. So that's something slightly different. I don't know.
Has anyone you've gotten to know well felt used by you?
No. But I would. No, but then that would be like I don't know. It seems kind of like how do I say this? It's kind of like that's just accomplishing the goal in a bad way. Like you want to do it. It's kind of like if like people have kids. This is no one has to agree with me with this, but let's say people have children as it's almost like a way of human beings living forever. You know, like instead of you going on living forever with your jadedness, the nature has constructed a more beautiful way, which is you have kids and then those kids have kids, right? It's more interesting that way. So let's say that is what having a kid is for you. When you have that kid, instead of like directly giving them everything, like you're me, so you have to do everything I do, the kid's gonna reject that and instead do what they want. So you're not like sustaining your legacy, but instead a smarter way is supporting that child and being what they want. Therefore they will want you around to then continue to support them. It's just almost like a better strategy because then your child will be better supported and they will then find their own way. Do you know what I mean? Rather than thinking, let me do this directly and just tell them you're just here to. Do you know what I mean? Like it would be a stupid strategy.
It's not an intrinsic motivator. It still feels more extrinsic.
Yeah. Wait.
It's not there for its own sake.
Yeah, I still don't know what you mean, but okay. I'll just go agree.
The relationships, the forming relationships, is means by which you are further empowered in terms of you're able to become more able, more practical, have these resources at hand. They allow you to pursue new possibilities, having these relationships.
Yeah.
Open up new possibilities to you. Right. Okay. Now that's the thing. The creative function is not.
Yeah, like you said.
It blends in and supports extrovert intuition and also extrovert logic. But IEEs and SEEs, I should say, are actually quite independently minded, even though they're very much able to make lots of friends, and that's something to take completely for granted. They're not all about I just want to form close relationships just for the sake of close relationships, to be all about my intimacy and my bond. They're about what can I do to grow and expand? What can I do to amass all these different possibilities and be as capable of master as I can? So it's pushing the extrovert intuition and the extroverted logic. It's not really the social personal bond, but it's there and it's supporting at each particular point. And the idea that you also, so I'm not seeing it as a vulnerable function. Like for me, here's a problem which I've had, right? I also pursue lots of possibilities, things that typically take my interest. I become over time more charismatic. I can win people over, right? But in the past, the learning for me was when in pursuing what I'm doing, I'm not checking up on the people who are supporting me. And I've had people who've actually been doing, a lot of favors for me. And I didn't really, factor in what they were doing to help me out. I wasn't really thinking about them. I was thinking about the ideas and the theories I was working with and going out and impressing people. Because for me, extroverted ethics is my thing I'm working on more. I'm really thinking about how people are going to react to what I'm doing. But the blind spot for me was how close am I to people in terms of what they need, what they want from me, what they actually need to make these relationships work. And people will then say, I've given all this stuff to put aside all this time, and I don't feel I'm getting anything out of it back. That's why I think I've been in situations where people have felt used by me. I did not realize it was like this. Because I'm reading the relationship, I'm not checking in the relationship, I'm not managing that well. It seems to me you are managing that a lot better than I am.
Part of it is for specifically what you said. I'll just give you an example. Like even someone offered to pay for me to do this because they really wanted me to do it. I was like, dude, I don't want your money. And it's like I'm very careful to not put myself in that position where they it's almost like I don't know. It's like a weird. I'm staying in this really like soft gray zone where like we are friends, but we haven't crossed the point where we owe each other stuff. So you still like me without me having to do that much.
Yeah.
So that's why the FI.
I don't read that.
Yeah, but it's so weird that you're saying I have the FI as a creative function, and then also FE is really strongly supporting it. It's like I don't feel like I'm doing. It's just I just feel like. Pardon?
You say you're not identifying with that. You don't identify with that part to yourself.
I guess it's surprising. It's very surprising you're saying that. I'm not like saying it's wrong. It's just I'm just trying to piece it together. It's very interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much of it is just
Well, what I would also say is that you got to think of that in terms of socioeconomics works like a jigsaw, right? You got to put different things in different blocks. And if you're really sure of certain bits being in certain blocks, and other bits you think, I'm not so sure if I'm ready yet for it, but it's fitting in that block, then you've also got to think, is it really contradicting? If it's really contradicting, then yes, and that's a problem. If I'm just not really sure of looking at myself in that way yet, then maybe it actually is. But it's a question of viewing, processing, and what you need to do is, of course, we need to have a dialogue. We need to continue seeing if it's actually working or not. Are you or is it really not fitting and it's causing you problems? In which case, we've got to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Quick question for you. Do you see? Wait, I'm still not 100% about the terms. So my TI would be a role function.
Vulnerable function.
Vulnerable even, yeah. So TI. So that would be like, is that polar?
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's like, but that's the thing. I really like I don't know, like, okay, what's TI in sociomics? Maybe I need to understand that.
Is about, you're talking about blast. You know how you struggle with the blast in terms of structuring things coherently, picking out and aligning things in a way it makes internal sense. It's not about practicality. Not finding underlying principles which aren't actually meant to change, and having that sense of structure. So a very consistent theme was you rejecting the adherence to structure is more about how it can be applied, and almost it changing and adapting with new facts and applications was quite consistent. Whenever you talk about philosophy being philosophical, being mathematical, was a perfect time for you to go into introverted logic in terms of what these axioms are and the internal elegance and symmetry of those axioms, or philosophy in terms of these structures and forms. You were going again and again and again into how it can be applied.
Used. Yeah.
And this is going to extroverted logic. And you said, in terms of actually using introverted logic, you said you weren't good at it in terms of, you called it blast. That's the thing. Because what socionics does is it entwines far more manifestations in the information element because of how it's defined as a certain zone in it, or how all information is a particular segment of all information. So a lot more stuff can fall under it. It's all consistently defined there, but it allows more stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm open, because that's a very specific term, it is self thinking. It's thinking of identity, right? Now, what are the many ways in which that manifests? That isn't necessarily articulated.
Just but need to getting all right. I'm good. I was getting cold. It's all good.
That's okay. You're getting cold.
Yeah, no, it's just a random call, like irrelevant. Cool. Yeah.
Gotcha. But now, so as a result, a lot of the other stuff, the manifestations are then put onto areas like the animals, for instance, and used to explain it in other ways. Where we'd say, no, that is actually a manifestation of introverted logic. You are talking articulately, you're not fishing for words.
Yeah.
It's more the structure of what you're saying. So you're not saying this and this and this, it's going all over the place. That is the problem. And it's a very common thing, people who are lowest in their introverted logic. They've got plenty of extroverted ethics, but they tend to have that lacking of structure and becomes almost like a stream of consciousness at times.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess like how you describe that makes sense. That does make sense. Sometimes it's like, I get what you mean. I do understand what you mean. It's almost like, socionics is organizing the information differently to what OP is. Like, I don't know which one, like, I can't really just say right now which one's more valid or whatever, but like, there's a different way that TI is constructed in socionics, where the way I fit, it's a vulnerable function, or at least that's what it seems like now. Fair enough. Okay, that's interesting. I guess I'll read up more on IEE and try to understand what the parts are like. Be pretty cool. Yeah, this has been pretty good, man.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it as well, and I like being challenged. It's good to be challenged for once, because often people say just accept, like, wow, yay, etc. But to be challenged, that's, it's important to think, and sometimes is it really thinking or is it not? And if it's not, why is it not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fair enough. You know what? Just a quick, funnily enough, like a while ago, I thought I was because I thought I was INFJ and MBTI, and so then I just assumed, I'm IEI in socionics, and when I saw TE polar, like, dude, I related to that so much. But I guess maybe it's because I'm trying to do it in terms of socionics. It's like, because I really want to do it, so it's a frustrating, like it's like trying to grab an apple you can see and you're like, I really want it. So maybe it's
it could be when it's talking about struggling with practical day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, that's
in my opinion, that's not actually a very good description.
Okay.
If it's a vulnerable function, it's almost essentially a blind spot. You're not interested in it. I know IEIs who aren't interested in developing their practicalities. Instead, they'll say, I'm not doing this. This isn't who I am.
Oh, like what practicalities? Like,
it's going out, not going out, sorry, learning to organize themselves better, learning to develop their sort of responsibility, learning to getting certain jobs to make money to get themselves through their life because they can't yet go after their main purpose or dream. That's not who I am. Because it's their identity and sense of self. It's not consistent credo they live by. It's a very different way of living, of understanding oneself.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, fair enough. That's interesting. Like, I think I understand it better. Like TEs, because obviously I keep thinking in terms of like my own, like, I guess the OP understanding MBTI, but like I have to like realize socionics is describing things differently. So TE really is trying to, it is kind of the day-to-day stuff as well. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't exactly like the day-to-day stuff, like, but I feel like it kind of has to be done. So I don't really. I've done some not so good jobs, and just like I've worked in a factory before, and like my girlfriend's like, you know, why are you doing that? You have a degree, and I'm just like, I just need money. Like I'll just it's a way of getting money right now. In the future, it'll be different, but like you just kind of. So it's fine.
Yeah. And what I was just saying, well, day-to-day stuff, more when it's blocked with introverted sensation, it's more about the local practicalities rather
Yeah,
than
yeah,
the broader, long strategic practicalities. But
yeah.
yeah.
Right, right. Fair enough.
Okay, I should get going now because I got
Yeah, it's
to.
cool. This is probably a bit late for you, right? Because it's 10
It's
minutes.
fine. Oh no, I got another one in like 18 minutes. But
Interesting.
yeah, but
Cool.
it's
This was
good.
good. Thanks, man.
This is the beginning of a conversation, so we should have more chats afterwards as well.
Yeah, for
And it's
sure.
a pleasure. So take care. Thank you everyone else for tuning in. Come see the next one as well in 18 minutes.
See you.